Hello everyone. How is everyone doing? Welcome to Online Teacher Summit, Tuesday, April 3rd. This is Paulino, and I have to say that it looks like Chris is having some technical issues. We're trying to figure it out, so be patient with us. In the meantime, say hi in the chat and leave a comment. If you have any questions for me or if you have any questions for Chris, it looks like we are trying to solve some technical issues. Cross our fingers. Hopefully everything will work out, but we are dealing with it right now, and hopefully we'll be back in a few minutes. If not, I'll come back and let you know what's going on. So stay there. Hey guys, yay! We solved all the issues in the world. We are the best, aren't we, Chris?
Yes, we did
Yes,
it.
everything is all. So, hello, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Paulino?
I'm doing great as well. So, people in the chat, please let us know if you can hear Chris and I. And while you wait, just we're gonna give you one more minute for you to say hi in the chat and post any questions you have. Chris, that sound like a plan to you?
Sounds great.
Great.
Absolutely.
We'll be back in a minute. Everything is fine. We'll be back. Take this opportunity to write your questions, and we'll start answering some of them in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. Okay, and we are back. We are ready for you. Let's make this a great session. Please continue to post your questions here. And we have some questions that you already posted. You, yes, I'm talking to you, already posted in the Facebook group. And remember that about an hour from now, Kim Carroll is coming in, and you can go to the Facebook group and post questions in advance for her. We'll have about 30 minutes session here with Chris with some of those questions that were posted in advance, and we'll continue with some of the questions that you post in the chat. Let's get at it, Chris.
Okay, awesome. So I want to start with Jess's question,
Yeah.
which is really great. So should we read out? Do you want me to read out the question, or do you just want me to jump into the answer?
I'll read it so that people know what we're talking about. So Jess says, "Hi Chris, I watched the OTS last year, Online Teacher Summit last year, and have been working hard to act on the advice I received. I've chosen my niche, which I don't want to explain it for her, but I know that it's a combination of English and arts. And I created a website where I post new content daily, and I'm working on my social media marketing. I also have profiles on italki and Vervlin. However, I am finding it very hard to get new clients, even for the free pilot course. What would you suggest for my next step? Also, at what point do you think I should pay for coaching if I'm still struggling to get clients? Thanks." So, what do you think, Chris?
Okay, awesome. So I want to start with the last question. At what point do you think I should pay for coaching? The reason I'm going to start with that is because there are so many moving parts to this. And Jess, when I look at what you're saying, I'm saying, unfortunately, it could be a million things, right? So it could be, number one, it could be your niche. It could be that the niche that you're in, like even if you're doing everything else right, sometimes the niche that you're in just won't work no matter what you do. Okay, even if you're doing all the right things. So that's why it's important to test. But it could be copywriting, it could be your web design, it could be your italki and Verbling profiles. There are just so many things. So what I would recommend for you in order to really get some really specific advice, because I can only tell you general things. I can, based on what it looks like you're doing things right. So I would say, well, how's your website? How's your copywriting skills? How are all those things? What does your italki profile look like? Are you charging the right amount? Start with that if you're going to do it yourself. But the benefit of getting someone who's kind of gone this route before you is that they can then look at all those pieces and say, this is where the holes are. This is what you need to address first. Because that way, it will help you determine, do I need to spend a bunch more time honing these skills? Or is this all just kind of going to be something that's not going to work for me, and maybe I should work on a different niche anyway, or just kind of reframe who I'm targeting and going in a little bit of a different direction? Because generally speaking, like I've said, based on just from that, it looks like you're doing a lot of those things right.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for that. I think Jess will appreciate it. And we have a question from, I think it's Sana Ali. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly. I am sorry if I did. And part of her question is what you talked in your presentation. So I'm going to say, Sana, go and watch Chris' presentation about how to find students. That's part of her question. But the first part says, what are the steps to teach online? Which is a
Mm-hmm.
big question. But
Sure.
I think it has to do with the decision to start teaching online and maybe transitioning from the classroom to the online world. If you can address that a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah, it just depends on what you mean by teaching online, right? Like, do you mean teaching online working for a company? Do you mean having your own business? Do you mean doing italki or Verbling? So depending on what you want, that's going to change the steps. So, the steps that I usually recommend is I recommend, if you've never done it before, start working for somebody else. Go to tefl.com. Search for the jobs there, because you can find all the people who are posting for online jobs. Is the pay great? No. But you know what? You'll get a feel for teaching online, so you can discover if this is even something you want to do, if you think this is something you can do and you can do well. Step two, and I'm going fast, but I talk about this kind of in my other interview. Step two, try italki, where you're actually going to be your own business, and then you can experiment with writing your profile, with making your video. See how that goes. If you like it, then you can think about kind of the third step. So I really just kind of break it down into those three basic steps.
Perfect. Great. Super simple, right?
Yeah,
But
super simple.
super simple, great. But I know that for some people it takes a little bit of courage because when we work in a classroom, usually it's for a school, and they already have all the systems in place. They have the registration, they have the classroom, they have the board, and now we have to think of all that. So I like your idea of going through a company that they already have that in place to get experience. It's a great transition.
Yep.
And then you, with more experience, maybe, and following some of the steps you get at the Online Teacher Summit, or information that many of the presenters here post, you can start building your own business.
Yep.
I like these questions from Natalia Danielchenko because it's very practical. And she says, how do you deal with tech issues during lessons, like internet cut, power outage, etc.? And I know that, I don't know exactly now, but for a while you've been traveling around, so you kind of have to think about the technical aspect of giving lessons. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, so I drove around the United States in my RV, or my caravan for British English people, and I taught English lessons that way. So I was always moving, and I had to depend on finding like a coffee shop that had internet, or I also had a really big mobile data plan, so I would have to teach on my mobile data using my computer. And there were a lot of times when things went wrong. There was no service someplace or whatever it was happened. So the number one most important thing that I had to do was I just had to stay calm and know that some things that were I could control, and some things were out of my control. And if something is out of my control, then I just need to stay calm, communicate with the student, let them know what's going on. Sometimes it was unfortunate when I couldn't get a lesson with a student because there was something like that happened. But most of the time, by staying calm and by communicating, students understand because they are dealing with the technology also. So those are kind of the big things. Number one, stay calm. Number two, make sure you communicate.
Great, perfect. And Sarah Jacob from Brazil, I would assume, posting on the chat. So number one, company. Number two, what? Number three, own business. And maybe she missed step number two. And I'm not sure if I spoke too quickly, but I
Hmm.
think she's referring what I mentioned. Number one, find a company. Number two, I would say invest on your professional development, because number one is getting the experience, getting your feet, you know, uh,
Right.
your feet wet. Is that the expression?
Yeah, getting
Yes.
your feet wet, sure.
Woohoo! I got it. I got it. My lesson for the day. My English lesson for the day. And then as you get experience on the teaching aspect, you also talked in your presentation about professional development, learning about the business aspect, and that will help you get established with an online presence and the systems you need for your own business. I know that some people don't have the goal of being on their own business. They don't want to do with all that, and that's fine. Last night, sorry, today, kind of last night, 3 a.m. for me. It's 10 a.m. right now, but 3 a.m. we had a networking group, and one of the teachers there, she is working with a couple of those companies that they already have their audience, and she have a full schedule. She's very busy, but she's making it, and she's happy with it. She loves it, and she might be considering her own business, but right now she's pretty happy with what she has, and that could work for a lot of people, just to keep working with different companies. So that's a viable option. Let's look at a question from Amanda.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Do you go onto general English learning Facebook groups? So she's talking about these generic groups like Learn English Now, where there's thousands of people all looking for help, usually free help. So do you go to those groups and reply to students' questions? Do you advertise large English learning websites on your Facebook page, or websites for students to look at? So two questions there.
Yeah. So generally speaking, I don't go into those large groups. I stay out of those large groups. Paulina, you said it. Most of those people are looking for free help, which is fine. There are plenty of free resources that exist for those people. But what I've found is that when looking for students for paying lessons, I found that that's not the best place to do it. Usually, I don't think I've actually ever had a single paying student that found me in a situation like that, or maybe even Facebook in general. So um, I think when it comes to something like that, a lot of the bigger brands do those things. They have like all these engagement building questions, like um, the A, B, or C, which one is right. So that stuff is fine, and it's good for kind of maybe more exposure. But for me, I don't know. I think that you have to ask yourself what kind of client are you looking for? What are your ideal students? And does that fit the profile? And maybe you're in a situation where if you kind of get yourself up and running and you want to just kind of broaden your horizons, that could be something to try. But I think in my experience, for most of the people who are looking to kind of be, individual teachers who maybe are like running a little teacher business, then in my experience, that has not been a successful way to get students.
And that connects really well. It's a great segue into question from Diana or Diana Tejeda, because she asked exactly about profile of the best students. She says, "What is the profile of the best students you have worked with, Chris?" And for those, you mentioned it in your presentation, but if you would like to remind people what's your niche,
Yep,
so that they can make the connection, because best profile of the best students, it's connected to what you're looking for, right? So could you
exactly.
please remind people your niche and some of the best students you have worked with?
Yeah, so I'm doing business English, and business English has been my niche for years. But I've kind of recently been going more targeted than that. And instead of doing business English, being even more specific to say interview English. So my ideal students are ones who often live in the United States. Or are trying to get to the United States, who already have a very advanced level of English, the kind of students who you would speak to them and you would tell them, well, you don't even need English lessons. Why are you taking English lessons? Most of my students, that would be a common response to say, why is this person even taking English lessons? Because it's not just about at that point correcting grammar and vocabulary. It's about helping them express themselves in the most effective possible way to get the job that they want. And often, what we're working on, as much as we're working with linguistics, we're working with the cultural aspects of how to speak to often a North American interviewer when sometimes the culture is a little bit different. So that's my ideal student profile. I don't think that's going to be the ideal student profile for many other people. And Paulino is exactly right. It all depends on who you want to teach and what kind of lessons you want to teach. You've got to answer that question first, because that will determine what students you're looking for. And I just see it over and over again when you say, I want to teach everybody. It makes it really difficult, because then the things that you say to try to get students, they tend to fall flat, because if something is written for everyone, then it's written for no one.
Great. Thank you for that answer. And I love this comment from Mike. He says, "You must have very powerful Wi Fi at coffee shops in the States. I tried teaching online during a recent trip to France and Spain, but the connection was too slow and I have to reschedule most of my Italki lessons."
Yes, it's very important, and for that reason, honestly, that's the reason I stayed in the United States and didn't travel outside the United States, because we have Starbucks here, and I can be very confident that Starbucks will have a strong enough Wi-Fi signal for me to teach a class. If I was going to any other coffee shop that was not a Starbucks, I knew I was taking a risk. And that's also why I had so much mobile data, so I could teach using the data on my mobile plan. But for sure, that's something that it's not exactly applicable to necessarily to other parts of the world.
Great. And Dora Locke here, I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly, but I think I know where she's going. And she mentions italki, and I want to say that italki is one of the many marketplaces where you can teach. We do not represent italki. Chris and us have different relationship with italki profiles, and talk with italki and about italki, but we at least, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, we do not represent the company here. We don't speak
No,
for them.
right.
We can only talk about our experience with them. So let's see. This question says, is it possible to become an italki teacher and use ConvertKit as at the same time? And ConvertKit is an email marketing system.
Right.
So what I'm think, let's see what you interpret, Chris. But what I think she's asking, if can you be in a platform and at the same time maybe develop your own email list on the side to potentially grow your business? That's what I interpret. What do you think?
Right. Okay. So can you use italki and ConvertKit at the same time? Okay. Well, look, here's kind of how it goes. With italki, the terms of service on italki are pretty clear. If any student who finds you on italki, the only thing you can sell them is italki lessons that they buy through the italki website. That's how italki has it set up. Just to contrast it with Verbling, which is just the other kind of bigger name marketplace, Verbling is a little bit more strict. Like Verbling, they have their messaging system such that if a student even tries to type their email address to you, it won't let them. Right. So Verbling is really strict about saying, do not even communicate with students via email. Do not add them to your email list. You may only communicate with them through our messaging platform. Italki doesn't do that. Italki doesn't say you may not email students. They don't say that. But yeah, there is the rule that says if a student finds you on Italki, the only thing you can sell them is your Italki lesson without risking, going against Italki terms of service. So can you do it? Sure. And theoretically, could you do it simply by collecting email addresses and having students in autoresponders that address their needs, that reminded them to book lessons with you and did those kinds of things? Sure, absolutely. There's nothing that from Italki's perspective that I know of that would inhibit something like that.
Perfect. Great. So I want to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and asking all these questions. It's great to see the diversity of them. Some of them go about, just starting, and others improving, and different things you can do once you have your business established. And it's great that you're here. So do keep your questions coming. We're going to wrap up this live session for now. There is another one in about 40 minutes with Kim Carroll coming up. So we're gonna take a coffee break. Hello, coffee from Minnesota. But in those, in about 40 minutes, you will have a little bit of break time to ask some questions for Kim Carroll. Maybe watch her initial presentation, which is short, and write your questions in the Facebook group. So it's great that you're here. But my advice is also, as you are writing your questions on your action guide, if you didn't get your action guide, let me know. I'll post the link here in the chat. Do bring them to the Facebook group. Each presenter has a post, so post them there so that we can be prepared with lots of answers for you. Now, Chris, this question is from an Italian teacher, and maybe you have worked with teachers that are not English teachers,
Right.
and but we'll see if you can help her out. Benedetta says, "Hi, Chris. I teach Italian, and online platforms such as Italki or Verber Planet no longer accept applications for new teachers because they already have too many. Which options would you suggest when those doors are closed? And how do you deal with competition when you are at the beginning of your online business?" So that's kind of two questions there. If you have any suggestions for people to look out, in this case it's Italian, and the
Yep.
other is about competition when you're starting creating in your online business.
Yeah. So my first response to that would be, number one, are the doors really closed? When you talk about Italki and Verbling. And the reason I'm asking that question is because, do they prohibit you from applying at all? Or do they let you apply, and then when they respond, they say, we have too many tutors? Because Italki, for English teachers, even when I applied to Italki, Italki said, we're not looking for English teachers. There are too many. Yet Italki continues to accept English teachers month after month. Why is that? Well, because Italki doesn't really need the teachers, so they can afford to be really careful with who they choose. So that being said, if Italki is letting you submit an application, then my advice to you would be make it the best application you can. Really, Benedetta, spend some time on your Italki teacher profile. Spend some time making a great video because Italki, in my experience, they are usually happy to take on one more teacher who they feel like is going to be an asset to the marketplace. If it's just one more okay video and one more okay introduction, they don't need any more of those. They've got plenty of those. But if you can find a way to really make yourself stand out, then I would say try again and keep working at it. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe Italki is really, maybe they won't even let you apply. Maybe they really are just absolutely not taking any more teachers. Well, in that case, I would maybe see if there are any other jobs, like going back to step one. I worked for an English company or an online training organization that taught a lot of languages, including Italian. So you could, if you're at the beginning, you could see if you could work for a company too. Regarding languages other than English, I don't have any experience kind of other than that, beyond that, saying, could there be a market for you to have your own teacher website? I'm sure there could, but it would just take some legwork and kind of doing all the other things that English teachers need to do with making yourself be attractive and knowing the messaging and knowing what your prospective students are looking for.
Great. And Chris, thank you for that answer. And we did have a question from Margarita about content creation, and she was thinking of materials. I kind of made um, a clarification there that when you talked about content creation in your presentation, you were thinking of your online presence and creating consistent content to post on social media, but she was trying to find materials and to adapt them. And I don't remember what language she teaches, and I'm not sure if she's Spanish or English, but we do
Uh-huh.
have lots of English teachers at the Online Teacher
Right.
Summit. And can you talk a little bit about your approach to materials, whether you create them yourself, you find them out, you use some services that provide materials for you?
Yeah, sure.
Wink,
So
wink.
I know. So I'm a big advocate of OftaClass. OftaClass.com is online ESL curriculum. So for anyone who is teaching English online, I highly recommend you check out OftaClass. So it's off and then the number 2 and then class, because OftaClass basically just takes the lesson planning out of it for you. They've got over 700 ready to teach lessons, and they've got a placement test, which is a great diagnostic tool that you can send to a student right from the beginning, and then you have kind of a personalized lesson plan. So that is like the majority. When I need to teach someone grammar, vocabulary, when they need to work on listening, any of those kind of those skills, OftaClass is it. Now, for me, like regarding my really focused niche, interview preparation. So I'm working with the really advanced learners. So in that situation, I'm looking at materials. I'm not creating those materials. I'm adapting things that I find myself that are made for native English speakers. So I'm using materials that are made for Americans who are trying to get jobs in America, and I'm then adapting that to people who are also trying to get jobs in America, but kind of just toning it down to the level that my students need. So OftaClass is kind of like the backbone, right? For ESL, for English, that is all the skills that you need to teach someone. And then whatever you have outside of that that's in your niche, then you might need to just get a little bit creative.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that answer. And then I just lost it. I lost it. I lost my life. No. I had a question here from Diana or Diana, sorry, Spanish or English. She asked, have you paid for Facebook ads to find your students?
I've done a little bit of Facebook ads to build my email list. I have not tried to go directly to getting students, and that's kind of generally what I would recommend. I don't generally recommend a Facebook ad that sends someone to your free trial lesson page, because I think that's just a little too much to ask for someone who doesn't know anything about you or who you are. If you want to use Facebook ads, I've had a lot of success adding people to my email list with Facebook ads. So my recommendation, if you want to go that route, would be send people to a landing page where you offer a piece of content in exchange for an email address. And then once they're on your email list, then you can send them a series of emails where you kind of build some authority with them, and they can get to know you. And then at the end of that email chain where you send them, 5 to 7 emails, then you can offer them a free trial lesson. I would suggest that route rather than just, I'm a teacher, this is my ad, you should be my student, because I feel like just there's not enough background for them to understand the value that you're going to be able to provide for them.
Okie dokie. And we are going to go to our last question, unless someone posts a question in the chat. But I want to mention that I just replied to someone who asked, can you write the companies and pages here in the chat that you mentioned? So I replied to that person, and you can see I put italki and Verbling. Those are two marketplaces where you can apply, if they let you, to teach different languages. Off to Class that Chris mentioned has materials for teaching English. And then TEFL.com, it's kind of like what would you call it, a job search?
TEFL.com is all things, but a lot of their website is about their online job boards. So that's the place that I recommend to find those jobs. Yeah.
Great. So we're going to go for the last question, and then Chris, I would love if you could share with our audience today, what are you doing these days and where people can find you if you have any projects coming up. But first, let's look at this question from Joanne Nicholson. He says, hi, Chris. Good pointers. She saw your session, obviously, because she says, good pointers and advice from your interview. Could you advise on the content creation / profile issue and the need not to focus too much on describing my teaching areas too much? I am an experienced teacher of general English at all levels and also focus considerably on EAP pre-sessional teaching in university, including editing work for academic writing assignments, which sounds to me like a niche, but we'll see if that's what she wants to go. Is it best to offer general English teaching with a different learning potential outlined for students, or simply to concentrate on the EAP / editing work?
Okay. All right. So Joanne, I'm going to just kind of make a guess here. And my guess is going to be that you are a highly experienced and highly qualified teacher who's been doing this in a classroom for a very long time. Okay. Now, that being said, I see what you wrote here. Now, you understand, you said, oh, Chris said I shouldn't focus too much on describing my teaching areas. I need to focus more on my outcomes. Regarding your question, is it best to offer general English teaching with, kind of the different options depending on what the student wants, or to concentrate on the EAP editing work? Okay, look, here's what it is. It depends on where are you going to find these students. So I generally say having a niche is better than not having a niche, okay? But when you're talking about EAP, you're talking about college students, you're talking about younger people. How are you, an important question to ask is, how are you going to get in front of them? Are there a lot of these kinds of students on italki and Verbling looking for teachers? I don't know the answer to that. I would maybe guess that there aren't that many, but I don't know. So when it comes to what niche should I do, you don't be afraid to test. Don't be afraid to try. Try something and see if this works. Are students responding to this, or are they not responding to it? Again, and even the other one, general English teaching with the different learning potential outline. I don't know. Here's kind of what I tell teachers who come to me for help. I ask about the students you have right now, and what kind of students are finding you now. What kind of students are you comfortable teaching? Try that as your first niche. Think about what those students want, and when you describe yourself as a teacher, Describe yourself as a teacher who can help those students get those outcomes. Not about I am this kind of teacher and I do it this way and I use off to class. All that stuff is great, but it's not necessarily what is going to really resonate with someone who's just finding you. So I don't know. I mean, I hope that's a good answer to your question. Try the niche, but you need to think about, where you are advertising yourself, whether it's italki, whether wherever it is, and are those students who need what you're offering, are they going to be able to find you there?
Great. Thank you very much. And let me double check. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I do have a surprise for everyone for joining us live. I don't announce this too much because I think that if you are committed to your professional development, and of course it depends on the time zones, but you are here. Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes, you. You are here at the live sessions asking questions, investing time in your professional development. So I want to reward you for being here. And one of the things that I love to do is videos, and videos not for everyone, but my gift to you today is connected to videos because I think that anyone can be on camera and tell their story on video. It's a powerful way to tell the story, and all it takes is just get the phone in front of you, record your story. But sometimes we want to spice it up a little bit. So what I would like to give you as a gift for those of you who are interested, it's a free professional animation that will include your logo if you have a logo already. Now, I do not design logos. I'm not a graphic designer, but I have a program to create these beautiful animations that you can put at the beginning or at the end of your video to spice it up. So the way to get that, because you are here, look in the chat and just send an email to support@onlineteachersummit.com, which is the email that you should use if you have any issues with Online Teacher Summit. Hopefully you don't. So this is a test, not for an issue, but just to ask for a gift and says, I want an animation. And I will send you the details so that you can get your free professional animation with your logo. Again, I don't design your logo. Some people, instead of a logo, if you're not ready for a logo, it could be just your name, and it could be kind of like a fun little way that you can start showing yourself out there and get your online presence started in a fun way and spice up your business. So send me an email, support@onlineteachersummit.com, and say, I want an animation. And you have to say it like that, huh? I want an animation. And I will send you all the details. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Chris, for being here. I appreciate your time. Please tell us. I'm curious what you're up to these days. Is there anything coming up that you would like to share with our audience and remind the audience where they can get in touch with you?
Sure. So these days, I'm actually working with Off to Class. I'm teaching some, but most of my time is spent working on the Off to Class team. So I joined them last year. So I'm just kind of helping them expand into the world of online teachers. So I still teach a few
These
students.
days,
Just kind of the nice thing about working with someone else too is that I can really only focus on the kinds of students I really want to teach. So that's rewarding for me. And if anyone is looking for me, the best way to get in touch with me usually is just on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn if you search for my name. That's going to be a good way to get in touch with me. I'm always there, and I respond to messages there as well. So thank you very much for giving me the chance to come here and answer some questions.
Excellent. Yes, and the link to his LinkedIn profile is on the session page. It's also on the action guide. Talking about the action guide, I want, this is what I would love, everybody to hold their action guide and take a selfie and post it on social media and says, I'm participating at the Online Teacher Summit. That's our hashtag, Online Teacher Summit, all together, so that you can show the world that you are investing time in your professional development. We will take a break. We will take a break here, and in about 20 minutes, enough for the coffee break. I guess I'm supporting Minnesota here. Come and visit us, Minnesota. We will have a another live sessions with Kim Carroll. So get your questions for her, and we'll be right back. Thank you, Chris, and I'll see you around.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Paulina. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye bye. Okay, and everyone else, you can stay here if you want, or go and get a cup of coffee. I'll play some music for you. I don't think it's necessarily dance music, but I will be around checking the chat, and then we'll come back in about 40 minutes. So let's take a break, and I'll see you soon. Hey, 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 while we are waiting, sorry, surprise, if you I don't know if you were expecting me or not, but while you're waiting, I see a few questions that I can answer in the chat. So let me jump there and says Diana asked about Chris' website right now because he's focusing and working on after class. He prefers that you go to his LinkedIn profile and you contact him there. And Elizabeth says, thank you, Chris and Paulino. You are welcome. Someone asked, will this session be recorded? And the answer is yes, but it will be available on this page until next live session. And then it goes away unless you get the premium pass. And all these live sessions are included with the premium pass. So you can attend a live sessions with your free ticket, but the recording, it's available forever with your premium pass. So I think someone says, hopefully this was recorded as well. I bought the premium pass. Thank you for buying the premium pass. Thank you for upgrading. And this session with Chris will be included on his page. So you can Chris' page with the premium pass, you will be able to see his free session, his advanced session, and the recording of the live session. So all those three with the premium pass. Dora asked, Paulino, was this animation with logo the one that you offered to the early bird who signed up for the bundle package? Yes, indeed. It's the same animation. So for people who bought the premium pass and the networking plus package, the bundle, they get a professional animation. So that's one. Now, if you are here and you're interested in animation and you did not get the premium pass or not working, you can send me an email and you get your animation. Now, if you did get the bundle, Dora, I'm sorry, I don't remember if you did. Maybe you did. You get an extra one. So it's the same animation, but this is for people who join us live here. I'm giving you one away just for joining me. All you need to do is to send me an email to support and I will send you the details. And if you already have one because you bought the bundle package, you'll get to choose a different one. You get an additional one that you can use for the outro of your video or a different one for other videos as well. So now it's my time to get a coffee break. I will see you soon, and you can take a coffee break or a potty break. Sometimes it's called in the schools, but I'm gonna get a coffee break, and I'll be right back. Talk to you soon. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, we are getting ready. We're not starting yet. We'll wait a few more minutes, but Kim is here in the house. Hello, Kim.
Hello.
So, hope you here. So, let's say something more than hello.
I'm really excited to have a few minutes to chat with everybody today. So, if you're watching this live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a minute.
Yeah, so let me know if you can hear both Kim and Dai and start typing your questions in the chat because we want to make this very interactive. We want to hear what your questions are. So start blah 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 blah. We are live. We, we can't cut this. We are here. So start typing your questions in the chat. I think I need more coffee. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
See you in a minute.
And we are back. Now we are back. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? Thank you for joining us for this live session. We had a live session with Chris Rush a few minutes ago, and now we have Kim Carroll. Kim, I ask people to watch your session, but because people can watch at any time and in any order, just in case someone have not seen your session yet, can you tell us a little bit of who you are, what you do, and a little bit of what your session was about?
Sure. My name is Kim Carroll. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, actually, right now. And I run a TESOL certificate program called English for Life Academy. And I also work with teachers as they're setting up their teaching business, both for in person and online teaching. We also have a course about how to teach English online. So I work with people in Facebook group and in our course to help them figure out hacks, easy ways to do everything, right? Because you have to teach and do all of that prep, but also start and run a business. And so I try to help people organize their business and their lives so that they can do everything that needs to be done without going crazy.
We'll try. We'll try not to go crazy here, but maybe we'll go crazy with all the questions we'll get in the chat, and we won't know how to handle them. So please don't be shy. Kim has a lot of experience teaching and with the business and helping others with business. So don't be shy. We'll do our best. If there's something we cannot answer, we'll be honest about it because we don't know everything. But I'm sure Kins can talk from her experience, not only with her business but helping others. So don't be shy and leave us crazy. Inundate us with your questions in the chat because this is your opportunity. You are right here watching live, so use the chat to ask your questions. I'll start with a question we got in advance from in the Facebook group, and that's a great way to get your questions in advance to our speakers. They have a post, so leave a comment under their post and ask in advance. And but please start typing your questions in the chat as well. So this question says, "Hi Kim, some good points made about not reinventing the wheel, etc." She's talking about Kim's presentation. "And thanks for the free resource link." Yay, everyone! Take advantage of all those gifts that our presenters have for you. "My question concerns using Edmodo." And Kim, you might have not used Edmodo. We'll see. We'll see. "Do you think there is any potential in using this classroom and forum-based app? Is it useful for group work and support and a sense of belonging for students? Too much like a classroom environment, maybe? Any advice? Thanks, Joanne." So what do you have to say?
I have to say first, thank you for your question, Joanne, because it's much easier to do this when people are asking questions and we can figure out how best to help you. So thank you for that. So Edmodo, I actually have not personally used Edmodo before, but I think it's really important to figure out what works best for you and for your students to help to create that sense of belonging. And if you're working with groups, sense of collaboration. And it's really all about what works best for your students, I would say. I've tried a variety of different platforms, and it just, some students really like having a bigger platform. What I've mostly settled on with my students now is Google, just using a variety of Google tools and also Facebook groups. And with the issue of collaboration and making sure people feel supported and the way you said it was a sense of belonging. That's what I've settled on recently. So for example, I have a class right now that I'm running with 8 people in the class. And besides the class that we meet together online using Zoom, we also have a Facebook group, much like the Facebook group for this online teaching summit, where people can post questions and answers, and I can post little practice things every day so that they're not just, let's learn these words once and then I won't think about it till next week. They have the opportunities to communicate with each other and to also practice their English. So if Edmodo works best for you, then absolutely use that. If you find other ways that are easier and easier for your students to access, then try those. I guess my point is experiment and see what works best for your particular people that you're working with.
Yeah, in my experience, I have seen many classroom teachers use Edmodo as a support to their classroom and as an extension of the physical classroom. I do know that some online teachers use Edmodo as well for management. You will have to check, because you're running a business, you will have to check with Edmodo because it's geared for education. If you are allowed to, that's something that I always wanted to ask people who use Edmodo. If you're allowed to charge students and then use Edmodo to kind of admin the class, kind of like your platform in a way. So I'm not sure. We will have to check, or you, if you are interested in using that model, you, Joanne, or whoever else, will have to check the terms of service because I'm not sure if you can charge for people to, if you can use Edmodo with students that you charge. I think a lot of public schools teachers use Edmodo as an extension of their classroom. But again, there are different ways, like Kim mentioned, a Facebook group to get the conversation going. It's free and it's pretty easy to use as well. It's all in one place. The caveat might be that some students might not be on Facebook, but you kind of have to decide there. We do have a yes. You have a comment? No. I thought you raised your hand. I'm so.
I did. You're a teacher.
I have
You've
to
got
say, I teach in the classroom young children, and I'm so used to having them raise their hand for questions that I saw you moving. It's like, oh, and my monitor says like, you have a question or comment? Yes.
actually, I was raising my hand.
Okay.
I wanted to add a couple other options
Yes.
besides Facebook. Some students I'm working with right now have suggested using WhatsApp as another good way to communicate. Um, and so we're experimenting with that as well. It's also free. It's easy to use as long as people have Wi-Fi access. And most of my students from most places in the world are using that all the time anyway. So we're experimenting with that as well to just be able to check in with each other and for me to be able to remind them about using English and give them some more opportunities throughout the day. And so they use that both for text and for voice messaging. Both features work pretty well for just practicing. So I can throw in a couple vocabulary words and an image, a funny image, and say, everybody tell me something about that picture using these three words, for example. And that's just a simple thing they can do in 3 seconds in their day. It makes them feel connected with the rest of the group and it gives them an additional opportunity to practice English. So you don't have to be stuck with Facebook. There are lots of other ways that you can do it as well. And I also mentioned Google Docs. I also have documents open that are just shared with the class. They get an email when I post a comment, so then they open it up and they can post their own comment as well. So it's a little clunkier, but for longer text, it works pretty well.
Great. So several options there. And if you have questions about those options, we can explore them a little more. I do see that because we mentioned this tool Edmodo, which is EDMODO, and someone posted the name there. It's not the same as Moodle. Mm, Moodle, I would say it's a lot of people use it inside an institution like a university. You conduct a class there. I took online classes when I was at the university, and all the content was through Moodle. That's also an option that you can explore. I would say that for some people, I guess Moodle, you have to learn how to set it up, and it's kind of like all these technical aspects, but it depends on your experience. Sometimes creating just one document where everyone can go, like a Google Doc, everyone can go and check it there. It works fine. That's how I handle my Spanish group, my Spanish conversation group. Everybody come to this document and everything is in there. Kim, I wanted to ask you about your group that you mentioned that you use Zoom for. What's the focus of that group?
Well, it's all advanced English speakers, and they they are all the people who basically don't have a class to go to because everyone says your English is so great, don't worry about it. And they talked me, a couple local folks talked me into putting this class together for them. And so the focus is speaking and listening with some high level grammar points that we throw in there because they realize that they're using the long way to express some things that they want to say. And I say, oh, you don't need that. All you need is third conditional. Let me show you how to use that. So speaking and listening, we're actually using TED Talks as the basis of that's like our textbook. Because they all said speaking and listening is what they want. So instead of giving them things to read between classes, I'm giving them things to watch between classes. And we do everything from their vocabulary. And of course, they're preparing their own talks for the last class of the semester. So that's the focus.
Great. So there is a question connected to that. That's why I wanted you to give us the an example of what you are doing because Diana is asking any advice on how to teach speaking to many students, not one-to-one sessions.
Well, my background is in traditional face to face teaching for many, many years before I got online. So that's much easier for me, actually. And it has to do with putting people into small groups to accomplish tasks rather than just two of us face to face talking. It really allows for more different kinds of language to be learned, different functions of language, just than our regular conversation. So, for example, today we were working on second conditional, the unreal things in the world, and we had a panel, kind of like a game show, where I would pick one person. I would say, okay, Paulino is the person in the hot seat, and everybody's going to try and guess his answer. If Paulino could be any animal, what animal would he be? And everybody had to write down what they guessed. Paulino would also write down his answer, and everybody held up their answer. And it sparked a lot of conversation in a really fun way that you can do much easier when you have a group rather than one person. The
Okay.
Zoom platform that we're using right now allows for breakout sessions. And so that's how I manage that. That's the technical side of how I manage that. You can do a breakout session and you can put people into groups of 2 or 3, and you as the moderator can hop between groups, just like in a regular classroom. So, yeah.
Talking about breakout sessions, guess
Yeah.
what? At the
What?
Online Teacher Summit, we have networking groups, and I love using the breakout room. So the networking groups at the Online Teacher Summits, we get together just like Kim described, in a
Yes.
Zoom room, and if there's too many of us, at the first session there were like 35 people. So we went into breakout rooms to be able to talk with a smaller group. And
Yeah.
it looks like today's topic, it's a lot about platforms because I see lots of questions about platforms and we might not use them all. So I don't, I've been in Edmodo as a participant. Kim doesn't use Edmodo. So if someone is using Edmodo and charging and knows the terms of service, feel free to answer that. Some people are asking, can you use Moodle if we charge? I don't know the terms of service for each platform. So that's something that you have to look into. Um, one thing you could do is ask in the Facebook group. Those are great questions because
Yeah.
we don't use all these platforms, so we don't have the answer, but you can ask it. And I will actually do a post in the Facebook groups like, ask your general questions here to everyone, not just for a specific presenter. Because there are other things that were mentioned there, and they're all possible. Slack is mentioned there, WhatsApp, Google
Yeah.
Classroom. Now, here's a question about Google Classroom that I would like to explore. The question is, do you think using Google Classroom is professional, and they put quotation mark, professional enough for a business? Have you used Google Classroom before, Kim?
I have not used Google Classroom.
Yeah.
I'm just using the basic Google Business app. Well, I don't think it even has to be business. I think it's the stuff that's available for everyone. And I think it really depends how you set it up. I don't think you have to have a fancy platform. The content is what matters, and your ability to connect with your students through this platform and this medium is really what matters to my students anyway. And in fact, the less fancy I've gotten, the more students have appreciated it, because then they don't have to learn the tech and they don't have to learn the new platform. So I have been on Edmodo as a participant. I just haven't done it from the teacher side. Also Blackboard and also Moodle. Um, and I did some research before I set up my TESOL certificate class uses these platforms as well, to see what people wanted, what were they comfortable with. And the ones that they were most comfortable with were the ones that they didn't have to learn something new. And so I just went with that. And it's worked really well for many years. And no one's ever questioned, does it look professional? It really is more about the content and about what you do. as the teacher in the class. That's my experience anyway. I don't know what you think, Paulino, about that.
Yeah, and it's also has to do, you know, if you are very comfortable with the platform, so not only that it's simple, but if you are comfortable, because remember that if you are running your own business, you will have to be tech support as well, just the same way that I am tech support for the conference. So whenever you send a tech support ticket, guess what? I don't have a team of 15 people working behind this curtain.
The curtain.
The magic behind the curtain. People ask me, "Where are you? Are you in the studio?" I'm at home with a curtain behind me. But so there's no, it's me answering your support questions. So you need to understand the technical aspects well enough to be able to help your students. And you can make it as easy or as hard as possible. It depends on who you're working with. So, for example, if you're working with, let's say, high school students or older senior citizens, you really want to keep things super easy, right? But if you're working with engineers, if you're working with business professionals, they maybe, I wouldn't say all, but they maybe are more used to working in,
Paulino,
yes,
could you excuse me one moment? I'm having a little emergency over here, and I'm going to let you continue this conversation, and
no,
I'll be back in just
no
a second.
problem, no problem.
Okay, excuse me.
No problem at all. So if you, these things happen when you're live, right? When you work from home, so that you know that we are live. When you work from home, things happen. So we are live with Kim. But what I was saying is sometimes you do work with business professionals, engineers, and they're more used to the techie aspects, and it's not a barrier. But if you um, introduce a new technology and they have to learn all these aspects, it becomes a barrier to getting to teach the students. So it's all about the technology and not about the learning aspects. I have used Google Classroom. Google Classroom has become available to the general public recently. Not so far ago, it was only available for the EDU version of Google. And I would say it's one platform to use. The last time I used it, it didn't allow you to post things in sequence in the feed. It kind of appear as you were posted. So it was a little hard to keep track because it's not like you go page one, page two, page three. It kind of all populates in a feed, kind of like Facebook does, stuff like that. But it's possible, and I've used it, and I know that people use it efficiently, and they have one Google Classroom per student. That's also possible. So um, it's all about what you would like and what you are comfortable with, what type of technology you're comfortable with. And
And
someone
I
says
think that's
Paulino is the Wizard of Oz. I would love to be the Wizard of Oz, but I'm in front of the curtain. I'm in front of I don't hide myself. I'm human. I'm in front of the curtain and I'm right here. And Kim is back. Hi, Kim.
hello. I'm sorry about that. I wanted to just add my support for what you said about being comfortable with the technology that you're working with. I had the opportunity to do some work with a group of teachers as we were developing online support for our local ESL students. How can we do professional development online, and then how can we transfer um, technology and computer skills to our students that were learning these skills. And part of this year-long process was making sure that the teachers feel comfortable with the technology that they're using. And also, this is really hard for a lot of us, that they feel comfortable making a mistake in front of their students, or the platform crashes, or the internet, what happens when you're online, that you are modeling good problem solving technique when you're comfortable with the technology and you can adjust and roll with it if things screw up. And that really helps our students as they are learning the new technology to feel like, I'm not going to break it. It's okay to make a mistake. But really just making sure that you're comfortable with what you're using is the most important thing, way beyond the perfect platform because there's so many options, as you all are pointing out.
Yes. Now, fortunately, I'm from Argentina, so I don't have that problem. I don't make mistakes,
Of course, yes.
especially when it comes to technology. You know, I have been in live sessions like this, like we're doing right now, and 10 minutes after talking, people are saying in the chat, is there a problem with the audio? Maybe I muted myself or I forgot to turn on the audio. It happens. It just happens. You just roll with it. Um, but yeah, it's about being comfortable with the technology. Now, someone, Ines, left a comment saying, Ines left a comment saying, I had students that had problems connecting to Skype. So better keeps things simple. Not only keeping it simple, but also having alternatives. So for the longest time, I used exclusively Hangouts to teach, Google Hangouts to teach. Very rarely Skype because honestly, I never liked Skype. But if Hangouts was not working for a reason, then I could go to Skype. And now I just use Zoom. And some people use Appear In. There are several tools. So it's good to know, especially for one-on-one teaching, to have an alternative. You always teach with Skype, that's great. But if one day Skype doesn't work, what are you going to use as your emergency plan? I saw a hand right there. Students, who has a question or comment? There you are, Kim.
Sure. I just wanted to add, I do have some information, I believe. I can find it and I will post it in this feed or in another feed, another post about what you can use if you're charging your class, if you're charging students. There is, I believe that there's a free version of Blackboard that you can use. That's not the education one. I mean, obviously it's all education, but let's say higher ed version. And there's a few other open source ones that are accessible, and you can use them for whatever purposes if you're charging or not. So I'm gonna see if I can dig up that information for you, and I'll post it in the Facebook group.
Perfect. Perfect. So we have a question from Diana that is kind of like when you want to expand your business and go a little beyond the one-on-one, and you can let us know if you have any experience with this, Kim. She says, what do you think about selling video courses with access to a couple of live sessions for Q&A? Kind of like what we're doing at the Online Teacher Summit.
Sounds like an online teacher summit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an online learner summit. So I've used that a little bit with my TESOL certificate course, in that some of the classes are pre-recorded, and it's kind of the flipped classroom method is really what it is. So the lecture part is packaged and ready for them to watch anytime during the week, and then the live version happens on Zoom, and they're working on discussions throughout the week using Google Docs. And so I have experience with that. And I also have a colleague, a friend of mine here, who has a full course available for, she works specifically with advanced English students, and she has a pre-recorded course with live sessions that she sells. And she loves it, and it's very successful, and her students love it because they have access all day and night. They don't have to wait for her to show up to do the class, and then they book their live sessions with her through that. So I think that there's a precedent of those being successful. It's certainly a good way to condense your workload. If there's lessons that you teach the same every single time, then those are good ones that you can put into videos. So again, I think we'll go back to the original question, which is, can you deliver support and make students feel included and make them feel, I'm looking back at this question, make them feel that sense of belonging, even though some of the classes are pre-recorded. And I think if you can find that balance, then you probably have a good mix.
Yes, and for those of you who are thinking about starting a video course or any other kind of courses, it doesn't always have to be video, although that's a very common medium for courses, online courses, I suggest you look at Lindsay Williams' presentation this year, which is all about thinking how to start to create your first product. And that first product could be your online course, could be a video course, could be a text course. The possibilities are endless. Great. So keep your questions coming. We are going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, this is your time. And in the meantime, I will lack. You see, I never make mistakes, Kim. I meant to say luck because I want to say good luck to everyone who is here with us. I would like to ask you, Kim, about what are some of the projects that you're working on right now? Anything else coming up that you would like to let people know? Because besides the great value that you brought in your presentation and today answering questions, I think that people can look at you and other presenters as examples of what teachers, entrepreneurs, or teacherpreneurs are doing. And
Mhm.
so, tell us a little bit. What are you working on these days? Do you have any fun projects coming up that we should know? And where can people connect with you? We have your link on the presenters page, but let's just say one more time where they can connect with you.
Yes, all the projects are fun, and if I could only implement all the ideas I have, I'd need a million hours in a week. Um, but I think we're starting not next week, but the week after. I'm going to run a 5-day challenge in our Facebook group, and if you follow that link on my page to get the resources, there also will be a link to the Facebook group. And if you want to join us, please do. It's open to anybody who's a teacher or thinking about teaching online. And there's a lot of resources in there, and about 2 or 3 times a year, I'll run a 5-day challenge, which means I'm sending you tasks to do to improve your teaching. The one coming up is geared kind of toward new online teachers to help you get organized and help you get comfortable with the online platform. And we'll be doing that in a couple of weeks. So you're all welcome to join. It's free, and we would love to have you be a part of that. Like I said, you'll find it at my link. Once you click to get the resources, you'll get the page with the Facebook link. Or you're on Facebook right now. You could hop on over to How to Teach English Online, English for Life Academy, and that's it. And just join. There's a couple questions to answer, and I'll let you in by the end of the day.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I just posted in the chat both your website and the link to your gift for the online teacher resources that you mentioned. Those are also on your presenters page at the Online Teacher Summit.
Great.
And Kim, I want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's very
Yeah, thank you.
valuable that you are sharing your expertise because I know many teachers at the Online Teacher Summit will appreciate getting to know some of these tricks when you're first starting so that you can really work for your business success, which is a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thank you so much for inviting me, Paulino, and I love being here, and I love talking with people who are thinking differently about how they can run their business and have a successful teaching life on their own terms and find new ways to connect with students. I think it's really exciting, and it's a really exciting time to be involved in this because like you said, the possibilities are endless. So good luck to everybody as you're moving forward in your different ideas and different careers with teaching.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Have a good
Thank you.
rest of your week.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Great. So thank you so much for all your questions. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. I'm gonna copy any remaining questions and bring them to the Facebook group. I do want to remind everyone we do have a networking group coming up. I'm gonna copy the link here to register if you are interested. It's coming up in 1 hour and a half. So if you are around, why not just come and meet other participants at the Online Teacher Summit, remember that you do need to register for those because um, I want to I don't want to spam everyone. Well, not spam, but I don't want to send reminders to everyone if they're not able to attend. So here is the link. In the chat, you can see the link to register this networking group. It's coming up today at 1 p.m. and we'll get together in a Zoom room and discuss some of these topics that we are learning during this week. And today also, I'm going to be adding more networking groups for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe on Saturday as well, although Saturday we have our closing program, so that more people are able to participate. I'm counting your votes and I will add dates and times according to where people voted. So if you're around in about an hour and 30 minutes, we'll start that group. The link to register is there. Thank you, everyone. Again, it was great to have you here, and we'll see you soon. While I have your attention, while I have your attention, the next live sessions will be on Thursdays. There are no live sessions on Wednesday. So next live sessions on Thursday, April 5th at 11 a.m. Central Time with Kirsten Cable, 12 p.m. Central Time with Jennifer Preston, and 2:30 p.m. Central Time with Sabna Siegel. And so bring your questions to the Facebook group to ask in advance, and I'll see you around. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye bye.